an Italian socialist. I think this is a brilliant idea. And I genuinely think, actually, it's fantastic. Okay. He believed that money should basically have an expiration date. So you should issue money, but to encourage people to spend it rather than hoarding it up, it would effectively run out.
Yeah.
So you'd encourage the rapid velocity and circulation of money. Now, what's interesting about that, of course, is marketers have already invented that with the voucher that you get at Sainsbury's that expires in 2 weeks' time. In other words, get £15 off if you spend £60 at Sainsbury's, expires probably yesterday, knowing my luck. But you know what I mean, okay? And the whole point of that is to encourage the velocity of expenditure and regular air miles. Some airline loyalty programs are exactly what Hayek talked about when he talked about multiple currencies. And you can have different rules for the different currency.
But why is it good? Why is it good to encourage people to spend money quickly?
Well, hold on a second. I'm not really a capitalist. I'm a consumerist. And I would argue that one of the strangest things we do in politics, this comes from an assumption of neoliberal economics, okay, which is that everybody is a perfect utility optimizer. And there are lots of assumptions in economics which strike me as absolutely heinous. The other one is the single representative agent. In other words, you construct this kind of imaginary being who is a kind of average of everybody in the model. You optimize for them and you assume that what's optimal for the average is optimal for everybody. So you have a model which, for example, can't really clock inequality, for instance. So I'm weirdly, although, as I said, I'm on the political right, I'm very exercised by intergenerational inequality and the absurd distortions in wealth that have been created by the property market, where actually how wealthy you are is more a product of when you happen to buy a house and where you happen to live than your contribution to any wider society.
And so by putting in
it's a completely arbitrary. It's like making the national lottery. The property market is like making the national lottery 50% of the economy. Okay,
yeah.
It's whack.
But then
I don't understand. By the way, you young people, okay, you're very weird because you're passionate about the NHS, despite the fact that you get almost no value from it in proportion to what you pay. There should be a weighting that older people pay more tax than younger people because their healthcare costs are higher and they have more money. Okay. So is that unreasonable? I mean, you'll probably fall off your fixie once or twice and need a quick visit to you young people with your bloody photograph of your genitals. Sorry, I don't know. Okay, right. But I mean, you'll probably fall off your fixie once or twice. But actually, the value you get from the NHS, I mean, about 80% of it is probably within 6 weeks of your death. Okay? Right. All right. So you're basically happy to pay huge amounts of tax at a young age.
That's true.
Okay, this is the kind of idea that interests me. Roger L. Martin, very good Canadian business guy, believed that instead of having a tax-free allowance every year, it should be weighted to the front of your life. So the first $100,000 Canadian dollars or the first 200,000 Canadian dollars you earn in your life is tax-free, after which you start paying tax on everything.
Not per year.
Not per year. It's just
the first.
So if you got a job at Goldman Sachs, you'd have one bonanza year where you earn 200,000 tax-free, and then you start paying tax.
Yeah.
If you're earning 40,000 Canadian dollars a year, you get 5 years of tax-free earnings to effectively allow you to accumulate wealth early, which is when you need it. I mean, I don't understand. The entire tax system seems to be gerontophile. Okay, I'm 58. And I get my financial advisor going, well, if you move this thing, you can put some money into your pension, get the tax back, and then you can take it out again. Well, that sounds great. But I said, where were all these tax breaks when I was 30, 35, had 2 kids, and I kind of needed the money? Okay, it is absurd. So the fetish, I think it's simply a product of the fact that economists are stingy by temperament. And they fetishize, why is saving better than spending? It's just consumerism needlessly postponed. Okay, now just to be clear about this, what we have done, I'm not against saving, I'm being mischievous, okay? But if you have a lot of wealth, it basically means you either don't need the money or lack the imagination to spend it, okay? So taxing wealth seems healthier to me than taxing income. And Adam Smith, broadly speaking, believed the same thing. He was in favor of high inheritance taxes because he thought just inheriting a huge sum of money effectively made people lazy, and it was actually quite a good idea. He was also in favor of taxing ground rent, so he was effectively a Georgist. Okay. The point, one of the reasons this whole election is so boring, okay, is the Overton window of discussion is now so small that none of the parties appears to be advancing anything that you might regard as surprising or interesting. They're tinkering with the same usual 5 levers, okay, when what's needed is a bit of radical intervention in a few ways. I mean, taxing of wealth, which, after all, since quantitative easing, a huge amount of this wealth has been earned in a way that's completely kind of undeserved. It's just asset value inflation, okay? I mean, it was absurd. I mean, what you should have done with quantitative easing is followed that Italian socialist and given people a load of money which they had to spend really fast.